really exciting announcement. So glad to have so many wonderful people. And how about all of this ice cream here in Washington, D.C.?
I'm particularly happy to be here today because this is relevant to my favorite food, which is ice cream. Hi, I'm Robert F. Kennedy Jr., your HHS Secretary, and today we're at the Department of Agriculture with my colleague, my friend, my partner, Brooke Rollins, and with Marty Makary, who's the Commissioner of FDA, and we made an amazing announcement today that the dairy industry has now committed industry-wide to remove dyes, all artificial petroleum-based food dyes, from their products by the end of 2027.
We have all come together as the ice cream industry.
Big shout out to the incredible dairy farmers and dairy industry in America. They represented today dozens upon dozens of milkers, of producers, ice cream makers, and they all came together and said that we want to be a part. In fact, we want to lead on this effort to make America healthy again.
We're seeing corporations, individuals, farmers step up. And I think it's because there's literally nothing more bipartisan, more uniting than a call to improve the health of our nation's children.
Administrations for generations have been trying to do this and saying it needed to be done. Now we have an industry that has voluntarily stepped up to ban these dyes. So this has been an extraordinary success, and that's going to make America healthy again.
Produced by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services.
Hello, everyone. This is your HHS Secretary, Robert F. Kennedy Jr. I want to speak to you today about a controversial issue that could directly impact you and your family during a global health emergency. Last year, the World Health Organization's governing body made some far-reaching amendments to its international health regulations, otherwise known as the IHR regulations. These regulations establish the legal framework that gives countries rights and responsibilities for managing public health events with global impact. The deadline to reject these amendments is next week, and we are rejecting them. So I'd like to explain to you why. The first reason is national sovereignty. Nations who accept the new regulations are signing over their power in health emergencies to an unelected international organization that could order lockdowns, travel restrictions, or any other measures it sees fit. In fact, it doesn't even need to declare an emergency. Potential public health risks are enough for it to initiate action. If we're going to give the WHO that much power, we should at least invite a thorough public debate, especially since the agreement is an official treaty and it bypasses the US Senate, which plays a key role in ensuring major international commitments receive proper democratic oversight. To make matters worse, the new regulations employ extremely broad language that gives the WHO unprecedented power. They require countries to establish systems of risk communication so that the WHO can implement unified public messaging globally. That opens the door to the kind of narrative management and propaganda and censorship that we saw during the COVID pandemic. We don't want to see that kind of system institutionalized even further. The agreement also contains provisions about global systems of health IDs, vaccine passports, and a centralized medical database. It lays the groundwork for global medical surveillance of every human being. Maybe if the WHO were an infallible authority, untainted by industry influence, we would consider accepting the new regulations. Unfortunately, the COVID pandemic demonstrated otherwise. During COVID, the WHO failed to enforce the international health regulations that were already in place for generations. China withheld critical information about the outbreak for at least a month and faced no real consequences or criticism from WHO. As the 2024 Congressional Oversight Report put it, the WHO was misinformed, denied access to China, and used as a cover for the Chinese Communist Party's reckless action. These and other atrocities make one thing clear: we must strengthen national and local autonomy to hold global organizations in check and to restore a real balance of power. Underneath all the bureaucratic language, what's at stake here is a vision for our future. Are we going to be subjects to a technocratic control system that uses health risks and pandemic preparedness as a Trojan horse to curtail basic democratic freedoms? Do we want a future where every person, every movement, every transaction, and every human body is under surveillance at all times? Now, I don't want to be too alarmist. The new regulations aren't in themselves medical totalitarianism. In fact, they were perhaps written with good intentions, but they are definitely a step in the wrong direction. That's why we're rejecting the amendments, not only on behalf of our own citizens, but the whole world. After all, America could simply ignore the WHO, but few other countries are as powerful as the United States. Even though many of these amendments are phrased to be non-binding, as a practical matter, it's hard for many countries to resist them, especially when they are dependent on the WHO funding and its partnerships. That's why we're taking leadership to stop an agreement that's bad for the entire world. I want to be clear that in rejecting these amendments, President Trump and I are not rejecting international cooperation. We can cooperate with other nations without jeopardizing our civil liberties, without undermining our Constitution, and without ceding away America's treasured sovereignty. That's my commitment to you. That's President Trump's commitment to you. Thank you, and God bless you all, and God bless our country.
Produced by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services.
Do you want to know where to invest $1,000 right now? Well, forget about AI, quantum computing, electric vehicles, cryptocurrencies, or robotics. A little-known technology is projected to become roughly 10 times bigger than all of these technologies combined. The World Economic Forum says that it's arguably the most exciting human discovery since fire. And billionaire entrepreneur Vinod Khosla, an early investor in Amazon, Google, and OpenAI, says you can make 1,000 times your money by investing in this phenomenon. But if you want to claim a stake in this revolution, you have to act fast. We're about to cross what Barron's calls an impending tipping point. Blink, and you'll miss the boat entirely. So do you want to know how to get started with this technology? Stick around for the next 60 seconds, and I'll show you how. Hi, my name is Whitney Tilson. I'm a former hedge fund manager. I've been featured in virtually every single major financial publication and TV show. And I even starred in a 60-minute story that won an Emmy for investigative journalism. How did I accomplish all this? I'll tell you this. I don't come from money. In fact, my parents were teachers who met in the Peace Corps. The secret to my success is that I have a knack for finding explosive investments in massively disruptive technologies. I bought Amazon in 1999. I bought Apple in 2000. And I bought Netflix in 2012. Investments like that helped me grow my hedge fund.
Then, of course, the great big, I added the word great, the great big beautiful bill. That was something that nobody thought possible. They thought it would be in anywhere from 7 to maybe 3. I'll go the opposite direction, but 3 to 7 different bills. And we said, let's just put it in one, because this way there's something for everyone. And there really is. There's a lot of things for everyone. And when we get the word out how great that is for every single person in this country virtually, and all they have is a soundbite, death. You know what their soundbite is? Death. Aren't they nice? Death. They are the most incompetent people. They've lost their confidence. They've lost everything, if you think about it. But Jasmine Crockett is on her way. She's on her way. She's the new star of the Democrat Party, Jasmine Crockett. They're in big trouble. But I have to tell you, that was great, and this was great. And I'm so tired of making phone calls at 2, 3, 4 o'clock in the morning, getting calls from our great speaker. Sir, we have 12 hard no's. They say, Mike, it's 2 o'clock in the morning. We have 12 hard no's. The good news is I call up. Hello, Jim. How are you? Sir, you have my vote. Boom. Sir, you have my vote. They just want a little love. Unfortunately, it's always the same. It's always the same 12 people. It's 5 senators and it's 12. And I actually said to John Thune and I said to Mike, I said, listen, I want to have a party, but not to those people that I have to speak to endlessly every time. And they're wonderful because they always seem to come through, other than a couple. Rand Paul Jr. from Congress and Rand Paul from, other than a few people. But I said, I want to have them over. We're going to have a party for everybody in Congress, everyone in Congress except 12. We're going to have, and Mike is, Tom, I'll tell you what, Tom is definitely coming. The whole group, where are those 12 people? They're the only people I don't see. We could do it today. We don't have to vote. And I would say of the 53 senators, 48, we're going to have 48 in here. You won't even have to come to that one. But these are the greatest people because they always vote yes, and we don't have to go crazy. You trust us, we trust you. And it's been a very special group of people. We really do. I mean, 96% phenomenal and 4% extremely difficult. Do you agree with that? But they get there, most of them, not all of them. Those are the ones we really don't like. But I want to thank you all for being here. This is really a big day. This afternoon, we take a giant step to cement American dominance of global finance and crypto technology as we sign the landmark Genius Act into law. So congratulations to everybody. This is a big deal. They've come a long way since the Biden administration, when they had no idea what you were all talking about. And half of you were under arrest for no reason whatsoever. True, for no reason. And we want to have it, not China. China wasn't actually happy. They were watching this. They like it. And we've got this. We've got AI. We've got a lot of great ones happening. And this is a very big thing. And I want to thank the bill's author, Senator Bill Hagerty, a very good friend of mine. He's a great guy. He's a great guy. He's a very handsome guy. Looks great. He's got the whole package. But, I got to know him. He was ambassador to Japan. And we had a little problem with Japan on trade. But he was my ambassador to Japan. And I went to Japan, and he is speaking fluently Japanese. I said, did you learn it as a child? No, I just learned it over the last 4 or 5 months. I said, you learned Japanese? Maybe the single hardest language to learn. It's actually breathing rather than it's breathing. I'm not going to imitate it because we'll end up with a big story, and I don't want that. But he spoke totally fluent Japanese. I said, that's very impressive. And he was introducing me to Mr. Honda. I said, oh, are you in the car business? He goes, yes. I said, you're a very rich man. And then he said, Mr. Toyota, right? Toyota. And I said, what business are you in? Let me guess. He said, cars. He was my interpreter. And I was so impressed. And I was getting ready to leave. He said, sir, I'd like to run for the United States Senate. I said, where are you from? He said, Tennessee. I said, well, I love Tennessee, but do they know you there? No, but if you endorse me, I'll win, right? And I endorsed him, and he took a 48-point lead. And they didn't know who the hell he was. And he's turned out to be a great senator. And now they all know who you are. Yeah, so you're fantastic. And we thank you. And just the fact that you're doing this and you understand this is a complicated world, and you understand it, Bill. So you've been great. Thank you very much. We're also pleased to be joined by our great Vice President, J.D. Vance. J.D., thank you very much. And he's been up speaking late at night on the phone. I said, J.D., how about you taking 3 or 4 of these people, please? Because 3 or 4 I cannot speak to. I just can't. And he'd take them and he'd come through, right, J.D.? Also, Speaker Mike Johnson. He's unbelievable. He's an unbelievable. I mean, if you go by what we're doing, if you keep at this pace, you can't keep it up for another.
Chill any room in 90 seconds with this NASA-inspired breakthrough. It's smaller than a toaster, cools any room in 90 seconds, and uses just a fraction of the energy of a regular AC. This incredible invention was built by 2 engineers, Thomas Berger and Leo Garcia, who used to work on thermal control systems for NASA space missions. They were tired of seeing people struggle every summer with broken AC.
200 days. But I will tell you this, if you keep up this pace for another week, you go down as the greatest speaker in the House in history. So one more week. Who needs Tip O'Neill? Who needs Tip O'Neill? He's better looking than Tip O'Neill too. But no, he's been going at a fervent pace. Would you say this, right? Your wife probably says, "You are crazy. You've been aging beautifully in front." He's an amazing speaker, a great leader, and everybody likes him and respects him. And that's why we're with a very small majority, like 3. We had a time when we were 1. Remember? We said we're 1 heart attack away from losing the House. Then we won a couple of seats and a couple of other. Now we have 7, maybe if we're lucky, 7. But we win with, nobody's ever done, I don't think anyone's ever done this before, to win with those small. We had a little help from Tom too, right? And a lot of other people. I want to introduce also Secretary Howard Lutnick, who's been fantastic. You have done a great job. We've got trade deals coming out of our ears, right? We got so many trade deals. They're all calling so many, and I really mean this too. It's like, how do you deal with so many? But, I always say when we send out the paper, that was a deal. They don't want the fake news doesn't want to hear that. When I send out the paper that you're paying 35 or 40% tariff, that's a deal. Then they'll call and see if they can make a little bit different kind of a deal, like opening up their country to trade. In some cases, they've never been open, but we're doing well, and we have a couple of big ones to announce pretty soon, right? Could almost do it today. Maybe we'll say it. Maybe later on we'll do it. Senator Bernie Moreno, a great victory. Bernie had great victory. A great victory. That was one of the truly tough races. A lot of people weren't sure anybody could win that seat, and you won it in easy fashion, right? We won it together when you think of it, but you won it in easy fashion. You did a great job. Great guy, House Majority Whip. This is a great leader, Tom Emmer, a great politician and leader. Really good. And I like his wife even better. His wife is, she's the boss, but you are married to a fantastic woman, huh? And he knows that, and he likes hearing it, because some people don't. They say, "Sir, could you please stop saying that my wife is better than me, sir?" Those are guys that don't usually end up with a good marriage. He's got a great marriage. So thank you, Tom. You really are a fantastic leader and representative. And Representatives Troy Downing, French Hill. Where's French Hill? Where is French Hill? You have been so great. Thank you, French. I spoke to him a little late. He was walking down the hall. I said, "French." He said, "I'm there, sir. You are great guy. Everyone respects you, French. You know that." Bill Heisinger. Bill, thank you very much. Thank you very much. Good job. Dan Muser, I thought he was going to become the next governor of Pennsylvania, but he likes Congress better, I guess, huh? So, but I think you're terrific, and, I would have always been behind you. That I can tell you. Tim Moore. Tim, thank you, Tim. John Rose. John? Hi, John. Thanks. Good job. Brian Stile. Brian Stile. Still young. Still nice and young. That's good. G.T. Thompson. G.T. Thank you. Andy Barr, good friend of all of ours. Thank you, Andy. Monica De La Cruz. Monica, she's here someplace. Thank you, Monica. Thank you, Monica. Mike Paradopoulos. Mike, thank you, Mike. Look good. Mike Lawler, Mr. Salt. Well, it should guarantee your district. I mean, you worked hard for New York, right? And you're on television, I'm on television, so this should be good for a couple of points. But without you and your couple of friends from New York, that wouldn't have happened. That was not easy, right? Congratulations. Great job. Anna Paulina Luna. Anna, who is so great. Even if she's here or not here, I want to tell you that she has been so great and worked so hard to make sure we got it approved. Ralph Norman. Ralph? What happened to Ralph? Nick Begich. Nick, thank you, Nick. Good job. Good job. Good votes. I just saw a great poll on you, huh? Very good. Congratulations, Nick. Andy Ogles. Andy, who's a terrific friend. Beth Van Dyne. Beth, thank you, Beth. Great job. Thank you. Thank you very much for the great support. Roger Williams, a great baseball player who also had to take a bullet, unfortunately, but he is a great guy. He was involved in that whole catastrophe, but he's fantastic and has been from day one, along with a lot of other people that I won't call out because I have no idea where the hell you are. I think I saw Jason here somewhere. Where's Jason? Oh, it's lucky I called him. Ooh, it's lucky. They didn't put your name because I invited you at the last moment, right? He was over there doing some business in the White House. But you've been incredible in your position. Nobody knows more about taxes and finance than you do, so we appreciate it, right? Is that true, Howard? It's true. Thanks, Jason. Great job. And you'll help out with that other matter.
Are you looking for the most affordable way to add electric heating and cooling to your older home? If that's the case, then you're going to want to take a look at this new system that we just finished unboxing called a ductless mini split. Not only can it keep your home nice and cool and up to 120-degree weather, it's also going to keep your house warm all the way down to -20 degrees. But the benefits don't stop there because it also happens to be the most efficient system on the market, and you're going to be able to mount it on almost any.
You make him so strong and powerful, right? Along with Deputy Secretary of Treasury, Michael Faulkner. Where's Michael? Good, Michael. How are you? Good. You'll help out over there, okay? And Ambassador Ken Howery. Ambassador. Thank you, Ken. Great job, Ken. I also want to recognize some of the countless industry leaders here today, including Brian Armstrong of Coinbase. You've done a good job, Brian. That's a big deal. Dave Ripley of Kraken. Thank you, Dave. Jeremy Allaire of Circle. This is a big day. Good job. Good job, Jeremy. Paolo Ardino of Tether. Paolo, thank you, Paolo. Ryan McInerney of Visa. That's a good company. Chris Pavlovsky of Rumble. Chris, what happened to your location, Chris? You're always a front row guy. You're just being nice today, I think. How's Rumble doing? Good? Good. If Rumble's doing good, that means Truth is doing good. That's great. You're doing a great job. Thank you, Chris, very much. Vlad Tenev of Robinhood. Yeah, thank you. Thank you, Vlad. Good. Tyler and Cameron Winklevoss. These are two smart, handsome guys. They got the whole package. They're a Gemini, but they have the whole package. They have a lot of things, actually, but Gemini's just the one for today, right? They've got they've got the look, they've got the genius, got plenty of cash, and it's great that you're on our side. You guys are great. I can never tell them apart, but their mother can. I asked, can your mother tell you apart? And the answer is yes, right? Easily, or is it tough for her? Easy, I think. Good. You guys have been great. Thank you very much. It's great to be with you. Let me say the entire crypto community, for years, you were mocked and dismissed and counted out. You were counted out as little as a year and a half ago. But this signing is a massive validation. And even before the signing, over the last year and a half, I think your stuff has gone up more than any stock, or just about more. A couple of stocks that were pretty good, I will say. But you have certainly, as an industry, gone up more than anybody. Nobody's gained the respect in such a short period of time. But this signing is a massive validation of your hard work and your pioneering spirit and your ability to never give up, because a lot of people would have given up 2-3 years ago. So I want to thank you for contributing to the incredible strength of America. This is going to make it stronger, and congratulations on this incredible achievement. You've made our dollar look really good and strong and powerful. It's good for the dollar and it's good for the country. And that's why I backed you at an early stage. And I also did it for the votes, because you did come out and vote, I will tell you. And they changed tune, Biden's team, they changed tune right in the middle of the campaign. All of a sudden, they loved you guys. They dropped all charges. They did have, I got you guys out of so much trouble. And you know what? I don't think anybody voted for him, right? Because you remember they treated you very unfairly, actually. So it's a great honor that we were involved. And it was a tremendous amount of support that we got at the polls. We won, think of it, we won every swing state. We won by millions of votes. We won the popular vote. We won the districts by 2,750. Think of that, to 505. Different districts too, by the way. Every once in a while that number can change, but it doesn't change by much. The map was almost totally red, and you guys were with us right from the beginning. Exactly 1 year ago this month, many of you were with me in Nashville, Tennessee. Do you remember that day, right? That was a big day, Nashville, Tennessee, when I became the first presidential candidate ever to address the Bitcoin conference. And at that time, crypto builders and founders were under relentless assault by the Biden administration, which was trying to crush your industry and crush you as people and go after your families. And they were a vicious group of people. You know, people don't realize it. They were vicious, incompetent, but vicious. Well, Joe was an incompetent guy, but he was always known as a vicious guy. I guess if you're going to be in that, you're probably off. If they're incompetent is better, right? Because you don't want to have a vicious guy that's competent. If you did, I wouldn't be standing here today. You know? But I pledged that we would bring back American liberty and leadership and make the United States the crypto capital of the world. And that's what we've done. And under the Trump administration, this is only going further. You're going to do really well. I mean, I'm so proud of what you've done in the last couple of years. And very important, on day one, I remember I did this and I said this and I mentioned this name and I got the greatest applause of the whole campaign. We fired Joe Biden's SEC chair, Gary Gensler. We fired him. But I remember I was making a speech and, it was just a line in speech. Then I said, and I will fire Gary Gensler. The place exploded. I finished that one and I said, what the hell did that guy do? There was a lot of hatred there. And it turned out, as I got familiar with everything, it turned out you were absolutely right. In his place, I appointed a visionary chairman who wants America to build the future and not block the future. He's going to be unbelievable. He'll go down as one of the greats. And Paul Atkins, where are you, Paul Atkins? And Paul, the crypto guys, everybody said, not only crypto, every industry, they all wanted Paul for the position. And he's a tough cookie too. But they actually said, we don't care. We just think he's fair. All they wanted was fairness. And they have somebody that you're really a champion of the street and you're a champion of the country. You're going to do a fantastic job. I saw you interviewed the other night. I watched it about 2:00 in the morning. It was a little thing called C-SPAN, which I don't know how many people were watching. Don't worry, you were on primetime too, but they happen to have a little relay. I don't want to embarrass you. But a fantastic job, really. You are absolutely so perfect for the job. Congratulations, Paul. And Paul is here today among the commissioners, various commissioners, including
over 8,000 men have permanently broken free from the P word by watching one single video training that you can actually watch by clicking the link below. But I want to give you 2 reasons why you should not watch that video right now. Number
Hester Pierce and Mark Eurita. Hester and Mark Eurita. Thank you, Hester. Thank you very much. And thank you, Mark, wherever you may be. Is Mark here? Oh, stand up, Mark. I didn't. Good. Thank you. Good job. Good. I'm glad I gave you a second crack. You didn't hear because of the thunderous applause for Hester. But thank you. I heard tremendous things about both of you. Thank you very much. My first week in office, I also established the first ever presidential working group on digital assets. And we have an executive director. Where's Bo Hines? Bo Hines. And Bo is a great football player, right? Bo is a great football player, one of the better players in college football. So I know you from that also. See, who would think that I know that? I know a lot of things, Bo, but he was a champion player. I stopped the weaponization of government against crypto and Bitcoin, and we ended the lawless operation Choke Point 2.0. That was a bad operation. Then I kept my promises to the community and granted a full presidential pardon to Ross Ulbricht. Ross Ulbricht. And you have no idea how important that name became. It was like a symbol, and his mother was unbelievable. His mother was an unbelievable woman, but it was so important to a certain group of people. And in the truly momentous act last March, I signed an executive order establishing the U.S. Strategic Bitcoin Reserve, as well as the United States Digital Asset Stockpile. And that's all signed up. And with today's signing, we're pushing even further into the exciting new frontier. Just as I promised last year, the Genius Act creates a clear and simple regulatory framework to establish and unleash the immense promise of dollar-backed stable coins. This could be perhaps the greatest revolution in financial technology since the birth of the internet itself. A lot of people are saying that. I don't know. What do you guys think? Yes? If you say yes, I'm saying yes. I think it's great that you're involved, I will tell you. Many Americans are unaware that behind the scenes, the technical backbone of the financial system is decades out of date, many, many years out of date. You know that Paul and others are straightening it out, but payments and money transfers are costly and take days or even weeks to clear. Under this bill, the entire ancient system will be eligible for a 21st century upgrade using the state-of-the-art crypto technology. Who would have thought we would have been saying that 2 years after I really met you for the first time? The Genius Act provides banks, businesses, and financial institutions a framework for issuing crypto assets backed one for one with real US dollars, treasury bills, and other cash equivalents. It's really strengthening the dollar and giving the dollar great prominence. And, you know, you have this little group called BRICS. It's fading out fast, but BRICS is, they wanted to try and take over the dollar, the dominance of the dollar, and the standard of the dollar. And I said, anybody that's in the BRICS consortium of nations, we're going to tariff you 10%. And they had a meeting the following day and almost nobody showed up. They said, leave me alone. They didn't want to be tariffed, did they, Howard? Huh? So it's amazing. No, we're not going to let the dollar slide. If we have a smart president, you're never going to let the dollar slide. If you have a dummy, that could happen. Like the last one, he would, if you ever asked him about the dollar sliding, he would have no idea. But we can't let that ever happen again. Consumers, vendors, and people all over the world will then be able to use those stable coins for ultra low cost transactions that are cleared and settled in a matter of seconds rather than weeks and months. And it's really an amazing thing. And with the privacy, flexibility, and decentralization of cash, this revolution has the potential to supercharge American economic growth and empower billions of people to save and transfer in US dollars. It's really all backed by the dollars. It's really a great thing. And a lot of, you know, we had a lot of Democrat support. I have to tell you that. I was shocked anytime you get one but we had a tremendous amount of Democrat support, which we appreciate, and which just shows you that you're doing the right thing. This will increase demand for U.S. Treasuries, lower interest rates, and secure the dollar's status as the world's reserve currency for generations to come. The reserve currency is so important. You know, if we lost that, that would be like losing a world war. We can never let anyone play games with us. And that's why when I heard about this group from BRICS, 6 countries basically, I hit them very, very hard. And
2 electronic engineers might have just solved one of the biggest problems with air conditioning. And big AC companies hate this, but there's nothing they can do.
If they ever really form in a meaningful way, it will end very quickly. I will tell you, for them, they won't be gone very long. I don't think they'll even do it. They're virtually afraid to meet. I also remain fully committed to my pledge never to allow the creation of a central bank digital currency in America. It won't happen. my first. Thank you. And the other night, I will say, with some of the congressmen and women, they wanted that so badly. That was so important to them. I was impressed that they knew what the hell it was, to be honest with you. Please, sir, please, the central bank digital currency, well, you have to make sure. Sir. And I'm saying, what do you know about that? It's amazing the knowledge that people have gained all of a sudden. We had a lot of problems with some of them. I said, we've already got it from the Fed, right? From Commerce and from an executive order. You don't need it a fourth time. Sir, we have to get it. It's amazing. But they knew their subject, though, didn't they? Huh? And we helped them out. My first week in office, I signed an executive order to ban the creation of a CBDC in the United States. And very soon, I look forward to signing legislation that will codify and ban make it a permanent law, put it in permanence. I'm also committed to signing landmark crypto market structure legislation this year to grow the industry. We're going to be growing it even more than people ever thought. It's a really hot industry. And for a little while, 2 nights ago, we were a little concerned because we were a little short on votes. I would say maybe we were about 9 short. 9 short at 3 a.m. We were about 4 short at 3:30 in the morning. And we were in good shape at 4 o'clock in the morning, right? But the people, and few people, have fought harder for the bill than we're signing than some of the people here today. You have been unbelievable. It's our White House AI and crypto czar, David Sachs, who has done such a great job. And he has a show now. I've become a showman, but a couple of years ago, right? It's probably 2 years ago now in San Francisco. And I did his show. And I heard he's a very smart guy. And we had a great show. You've kept it going a lot longer. And is that still your highest rated ever show? Oh, he knows what to say. He knows what to say. He had a rating that we had millions and millions of people. He said, what's going on? But we had a great show. And I said, that guy's really smart. I said, if I get elected, I was running at that time. If I get elected, we're going to bring him into government in some ways. He's worth a fortune. He's made a lot of money. He's a very rich billionaire. But this is more important, isn't it? This is me too. It's like, doesn't matter. This is much. I know Howard and I talk about it all the time. Howard could go back to his wonderful brokerage firm, hire 1 or 2 people, and it's not the same as what you're doing, right? We're doing the biggest deals in the world. Actually, the deal we're doing now in tariffs is the biggest, when you add it up, the biggest deal ever made in history. It could be 1,000 IBMs. I mean, if you think of it, it's the biggest deal ever done. So it's hard to go back to a brokerage firm and, make $79,000 commission on the sale of a stock. Right? It's true. But I want to ask David. So David's been fantastic. He's done an incredible job. And I'd like to ask David to come up and say a few words. Thank you very much.
All right, thank you, President Trump. It's a great honor to be here. And it's true that I never expected to work in government at all. And then everything changed after President Trump came on my podcast. And I accepted this job as crypto czar because I thought it was a once in a lifetime opportunity to work for a president who really wants to get things done for the American people. And if anything, that's been an understatement. The first 6 months of this administration have been more successful than any administration in American history. What's been done? It's just been incredible. President Trump has worked at tech speed. We're used to working fast in Silicon Valley, but even this is fast for us in Silicon Valley, the speed at which you move, President Trump. It's really incredible. And now today, you have another historic legislative achievement that is a monumental step to fulfilling your promise to making the United States the crypto capital of the world. This Genius Act will unlock American dominance in the crypto industry by creating clear rules of the road. It will update archaic payment rails with a revolutionary new payment system, and it will extend U.S. dollar dominance, like you said, globally, by creating a digital dollar that people all over the world can use. And for every digital dollar in a crypto wallet, There'll be a traditional dollar in a US bank account, which will create trillions of dollars of demand for US Treasuries. So that is the power.
I want to buy your house. I can pay you cash for your house, no matter what condition it's in.
Of this bill is US dollar dominance. This is a huge promise made and promise kept by President Trump. And there's just a few other people I'd like to thank. First, my family for being here. Thank you. And Bo Hines, who President Trump mentions, the director of our crypto council, he really did the heavy lifting here. So Bo, I just want to thank you again. And my chief of staff, Tracy Johnson, as well, who also does the heavy lifting. And Bill Hagerty and French Hill and all the congressmen and senators who have already been mentioned by President Trump. So I'll save the time, but it was really been an honor to work with all of you. This was really a team effort. But most of all, I want to thank President Trump for accomplishing what nobody thought was possible. And it's true that just earlier this week, the media was reporting that this bill was dead. This bill was dead. And then the media didn't know one thing, that we had a secret weapon. We have a deal maker in chief. And thanks to President Trump, he stepped in and saved this bill. And it's because of your vision, your leadership, your determination, your skill that we're all here today. So thank you very much, President Trump.
Is that Laura? Please come. Just come here. This is our superstar. She was the head of the Republican Party, and nobody complained about anything. We wanted to go. This is Laura Trump, married to a young gentleman named Eric. They have beautiful 2 children, but she has been so good. She stepped into that position like it was nothing that we wanted. And she said, Dad, I'd like to go home right now to my beautiful husband and my son and daughter, right? But you did a fantastic job. And you worked with a great gentleman, too. He's doing a fantastic job. But I just want to thank you. I just saw you standing back there. I wanted to bring her in. Thank you very much, Laura. Thank you. So under the Trump administration, I just got back from Saudi Arabia, and we went to Qatar. We went to a number of countries, and I will tell you the level of respect that this country has now is incredible. The UAE, I tell you what, we had a time there, but every leader said the same thing. They said 1 year ago, your country was dead. And they'd say it that way. It was like, I didn't know whether I was supposed to be happy or insulted, but the truth is we were in deep trouble. But they said 1 year ago, your country was dead. And today you have the hottest country anywhere in the world. And it's true. We have the hottest country in the world. We had a country, we were a laughing stock with the borders, people pouring in. Can you imagine last month, in the month of June, actually, 0. Now, I don't even believe that, 0, because you have hundreds of thousands pouring in, and then all of a sudden it's 0. But they have it down as 0. And very liberal people take that particular toll. It's a liberal group. So they're not giving us any favors. They had 0 people coming through our border. Can you imagine that? From literally hundreds of thousands of millions pouring in from all over the world. They came from all over the world. They came from prisons, jails. They came from mental institutions, gang members. There were gangs. They came from all over the place, from every country. They came from the Congo in Africa, a lot from the Congo. They came from South America. A lot of came from Venezuela. They emptied their jails into our country. Can you imagine? They allowed that, emptied their jails into our country, and they let them walk right into our country like perfect. 11,888 committed murder. 50% committed more than one person. They murdered more than one person. 50% of 11,888. And we had murderers, and we're getting them out, and Tom Homan and Christie are doing a great job. That Tom Homan, I'll tell you, is he central casting or what? And he takes abuse, but they just keep fighting, and they're winning, and we're winning in the courts, so we're winning everywhere. But we've got the hottest country in the world, and you're a big part of it. So the golden age of America is upon us, and with today's signing, the future of crypto and the crypto industry, the US dollar working together, because they really are hand in hand, is going to be stronger and bigger and better than ever before. And I just want to thank everybody, some tremendous people in this room. And maybe when I sign, I'll ask some of our great senators and congressmen to come on up. Some of the top crypto guys, please come on up because you guys work very hard on this. And we'll sign this and we'll get on to the next battle and we'll win. But we're winning all over the world right now. It's not even close, not even close. And we're going to keep it going. Thank you, everybody, very much.
Can you all see that, please? Thank you so much.
See that?
When?
Yeah.
Sir? Can you, thank you so much.
The real estate market is changing fast. So if you're a McCall and surrounding area homeowner considering selling and you want to get maximum value without paying an arm and a leg when you go to buy your next home,
This is not an auto pen, by the way, which is a big scandal. If that were a Republican, it would really be a big scandal, but it is one of the great scandals of our time. Thank you very much, everybody.
Mr. President, why not go further than just unsealing this?
President, did you send that letter? Release the full file.
Good afternoon, everyone. I apologize for our tardiness. I was with the president. Let me begin with a few scheduling announcements today. President Trump will travel to Scotland, where he will visit both Turnberry and Aberdeen from July 25th to July 29th. During the visit, President Trump will meet again with Prime Minister Starmer to refine the great trade deal that was brokered between the United States and the United Kingdom. And the President and the First Lady will travel to the United Kingdom for an official state visit from September 17th to September 19th, later this fall. This will mark a truly unprecedented second state visit for President Trump, and he is honored and looking forward to meeting with His Majesty the King at Windsor Castle. There has been a wave of positive economic news over the past week, which I would like to highlight today. Joe Biden's inflation crisis has been defeated. Prices paid to American businesses for goods and services were flat in June, which is lower than all 50 forecasters in the Bloomberg survey predicted. And core inflation, which is the best measure of inflation, came in lower than expected again in the month of June. Since President Trump took office, core inflation has tracked at just 2.1% overall and has come in below or at economists' expectations every single month. Wages are growing at a strong pace and prices are falling for everyday Americans. We also saw prices for new and used vehicles and airfares drop last month. In addition, prices for gas, fuel oil, energy commodities, hotels, airfare, public transportation, and fresh vegetables are all down over last year. As we said all along, trust in President Trump. The American dream is back, and everyday families are already reaping the benefits of this incredible economic turnaround in just 6 months. President Trump has ended the era of economic surrender and implemented powerful tariffs to stand up for our workers and businesses and rebalance America's trading agreements. Despite all of the doom casting from the so-called experts claiming that these tariffs would be the end of the world as we know it, the opposite has occurred. Tariffs are not inflationary, as President Trump has said all along. In reality, tariffs are a source of massive revenue. We're seeing trillions of dollars in private investment pour into our country right now because the companies around this world want to make their products right here with American labor and not have to pay any tariffs at all. Customs and tariff revenue has already totaled more than $113 billion since President Trump entered office, helping to lead a budget surplus in June for the first time in nearly a decade. We are truly entering a golden age as a result of these pro-growth and America First trade policies. On another matter, yesterday in the East Room, the president was proud to sign the Halt All Lethal Trafficking of Fentanyl Act into law, surrounded by angel families to help finally end the devastating fentanyl crisis that has ravaged millions of Americans. Under the Halt Fentanyl Act, anyone who possesses, imports, distributes, or manufactures any illicit fentanyl-related substances will be subject to criminal prosecution in the same manner as any other Schedule I controlled substance. This legislation will close the loopholes that criminals use to skirt around the law and make it easier for law enforcement to prosecute vicious traffickers who peddle poison in our communities. President Trump has always made tackling the drug crisis a top priority, and this important bipartisan legislation further follows through on that commitment. The complete and total success at our southern border that many in the media in this room continue to ignore is another example of the president keeping his word to families who have lost loved ones due to fentanyl, and it's another win for the American people. Customs and Border Protection just released the final operationalized stats for the month of June, and I must highlight some of these incredible numbers. There were only 6,072 Southwest apprehensions in June, 15% lower than the previous record that this president set in the month of March. To put that in perspective, the Biden administration routinely saw the same number of encounters in a single day. And on many days, that number was more than 10,000 apprehensions at the Southwest border. There were also 0 illegal aliens released along the Southwest border for the second consecutive month in a row. President Trump promised to end the illegal alien invasion, and he has delivered on that promise to the American people in record time. With the border sealed, deportations are ramping up. This past weekend, our brave ICE agents were arresting violent criminal illegal aliens all across the country. ICE Atlanta arrested an illegal alien from Mexico, convicted of attempted rape of a child in North Carolina. ICE Baltimore arrested an illegal alien from Guatemala who was previously convicted for sexual abuse of a minor in Maryland. ICE Houston arrested a criminal illegal alien from Mexico whose previous conviction includes aggravated sexual assault of a child in Texas. ICE Salt Lake City arrested a 32-year-old illegal criminal alien from Mexico who was previously convicted for child abuse and injury. ICE Baltimore arrested a criminal illegal alien from El Salvador convicted in Maryland for possession of child pornography. And ICE San Antonio arrested a criminal illegal alien from Mexico convicted of aggravated sexual assault in Texas. The men and women of ICE are heroes. They are putting their lives on the line every day to get the worst of the worst, these types of criminals, out of our communities and out of our country. And the president continues to strongly have the backs of all ICE agents who are doing their jobs to keep all of us, including everyone in this room, safe. The facility, sorry, 1 second. In other news, following President Trump's bold executive actions protecting American children from irreversible chemical and surgical mutilation, the largest provider of these barbaric practices will now be closing its doors. The facility in Los Angeles, California, is just the latest facility downsizing or eliminating their irreversible and harmful services that feed into the lie that you can somehow change a child's sex. The Biden administration peddled dangerous policies that defied medical science in favor of radical transgender ideology. But President Trump has put an end to that to ensure America's children's innocence is protected and our children can lead healthy and productive lives. Finally, last night, Senate Republicans passed President Trump's $9 billion rescissions package. This will help restore fiscal sanity in our country by rescinding billions in wasteful foreign aid and finally ending taxpayer funding for PBS and NPR, two media organizations that have ridiculously used federal dollars to push a partisan left-wing agenda for many years. The House should pass this rescissions package immediately and send it to the president's desk for signature. On another note, I know that many in the media have been speculating about bruising on the president's hand and also swelling in the president's legs. So in the effort of transparency, the president wanted me to share a note from his physician with all of you today. In recent weeks, President Trump noted mild swelling in his lower legs. In keeping with routine medical care and out of an abundance of caution, this concern was thoroughly evaluated by the White House medical unit. The president underwent a comprehensive examination, including diagnostic vascular studies. Bilateral lower extremity venous Doppler ultrasounds were performed and revealed chronic venous insufficiency, a benign and common condition, particularly in individuals over the age of 70. Importantly, there was no evidence of deep vein thrombosis or arterial disease. Laboratory testing included a complete blood count, comprehensive metabolic panel, coagulation profile, D-dimer, B-type natriuretic peptide, and cardiac biomarkers. All results were within normal limits. An echocardiogram was also performed and confirmed normal cardiac structure and function. No signs of heart failure, renal impairment, or systemic illness were identified. Additionally, recent photos of the president have shown minor bruising on the back of his hand. This is consistent with minor soft tissue irritation from frequent handshaking and the use of aspirin, which is taken as part of a standard cardiovascular prevention regimen. This is a well-known and benign side effect of aspirin therapy. And the president remains in excellent health, which I think all of you witness on a daily basis here. So the president wanted me to share that note with all of you. I'm happy to take further questions on it. We will provide the memorandum from the president's physician to all of you, as we always do. And we'll get to questions. Here in our new media seat, we have Frank Corva, who's the White House correspondent for Bitcoin Magazine, which comes at a timely week with crypto legislation moving across Capitol Hill. So why don't you kick us off, Frank, and thanks for being with us.
Thank you so much. We appreciate it, Ms. Levitt.
Sure.
I was curious to hear if the president was in favor of removing any and all language around central bank digital currencies from the Genius Act, maybe as a means to get it across the line and get it on his desk. And then my second question was about something the president spoke about in this room. He talked about a $600 de minimis tax exemption for Bitcoin and other crypto spending. So I was just wondering if you could comment on those.
Sure. Well, the president did signal his support for a de minimis exemption for crypto, and the administration continues to be in support of that. We are definitely receptive to it to make crypto payments easier and more efficient for those who seek to use crypto as simple as buying a cup of coffee. Of course, right now that cannot happen, but with the de minimis exemption, perhaps it could in the future, and we will continue to explore legislative solutions to accomplish that. As for the central bank digital currency and the Genius Act, which you noted has passed through Congress and will be sent to the president's desk. I believe the House is voting on it. If they haven't, they should be passing it. We know we have the votes, and we expect it to get to the president's desk, and we are planning a signing ceremony tomorrow afternoon. All of you will get more details on that. This piece of legislation is going to make America the crypto capital of the world, and that's what the president promised. As for a central bank digital currency, the president opposes that. He made that promise to the American people on the campaign, and while it's not in this specific piece of legislation, he did sign a January executive order banning a central bank digital currency. The administration supports Congress's efforts to codify that executive order into law, and I believe there will be future pieces of legislation in regards to crypto that will be moving through Capitol Hill. The president looks forward to signing them, and he looks forward to the signing ceremony this afternoon. So thank you for being with us today. Sure. Jackie.
Thank you, Caroline. There's been a lot of discussion about the Epstein files and the president's comments yesterday calling it a hoax. Can you clarify which part of the Epstein hoax is the hoax part?
The president is referring to the fact that Democrats have now seized on this as if they ever wanted transparency when it comes to Jeffrey Epstein, which is an asinine suggestion for any Democrat to make. The Democrats had control of this building, the White House, for 4 years, and they didn't do a dang thing when it came to transparency in regards to Jeffrey Epstein and his heinous crimes. It was this president who directed the Department of Justice and the Attorney General to do an exhaustive review of all files related to Jeffrey Epstein, which they did. The Attorney General and the FBI, led by Pam Bondi, Dan Bongino, Kash Patel, these are great patriots, some of the most trusted voices in the Republican Party movement. It's part of the reason the president appointed them to these high law enforcement positions. And they spent many months going through all of the files related to Jeffrey Epstein, and they concluded what they found in that memo, which they drafted and they released. And so the president has been transparent. He has followed through on his promises to the American people, but he doesn't like to see Democrats and the mainstream media covering this like it's the biggest story that the American people care about. The president has been working so hard this week. On Tuesday, he went to Pennsylvania, where he secured $90 billion in investments for the Commonwealth, for the people of that state. After that, he came back to the Oval Office at 8 p.m. He went in there to whip votes to get the Genius Act signed into law. And because of his efforts, that bill is now going to be signed and passed. The following day, yesterday, he meets with a foreign leader, the King of Bahrain, to secure more investments into this country. And then yesterday afternoon, the president is in the East Room of the White House mourning with parents who have lost their children because of fentanyl, signing a bipartisan piece of legislation. And not a single cable network in this country took that event live and covered that event like they should. Those are the issues the president cares about. What could be more important to the American people than helping families who have lost their children? Those are the issues this president is going to remain focused on.
I understand he wants to move on from the story, but you do have some prominent figures, including the Senate Majority Leader, the House Speaker, voicing support for the files to come out. Representative Massey collecting signatures that would force a discharge petition for a vote on the floor for this. It doesn't seem to be going away. What is stopping the administration from just redacting any sensitive information, grand jury information, and putting out what is appropriate so that the American people can decide and then let this story die?
Well, in terms of redactions or grand jury seals, those are questions for the Department of Justice. Those are also questions for the judges who have that information under a seal. And that would have to be requested, and a judge would have to approve it. That's out of the president's control. He has said, in agreement with some of the leaders on Capitol Hill, that if the Attorney General and the Department of Justice come across any other credible evidence, they should provide that to the American people. The president has said that, and he agrees with them on that.
Why did he hire Maureen Comey?
The Department of Justice did, and I would defer you to them. Dasha.
Has the White House been directly in touch with some of the MAGA influencers that are still not satisfied with the administration's handling? And has the message to them been similar to what the president has said, which is sort of either let this go or we don't need your support?
Well, look, the president and this team are always in contact with the president's supporters, with voices of many kinds on both sides of the aisle. I think that's part of the reason this president is a great president, because he's willing to listen and hear other people's perspectives. But ultimately, he has led this country, not just over the past 6 months to historic success, but also through his first 4 years as president. And as the leader and the creator of the MAGA movement, he has led through these perilous times for our country based on instinct and in the best interest of the country. And as I always say, the American people should trust in President Trump.
John,
Go ahead, John.
Thanks a lot, Caroline. The president on Monday announced that if there's not compliance with Russia within 50 days, there would be increased tariffs. Can you explain how that works? First of all, what happens if Russia doesn't end its war with Ukraine in 50 days?
Well, in 50 days, as the president clearly laid out, if there is not a ceasefire agreement or a peace deal within that time frame, if Russia refuses to legitimately agree to a ceasefire, then they will face very steep tariffs, and they will also face secondary sanctions. So countries that are purchasing oil from Russia will be sanctioned as well, and of course that will do deep damage to Russia's economy. And I would just add that the president wants this war to end with a diplomatic solution. He's been pushing for it. This administration has spent many hours and a lot of time trying to solve this war very far away, but the president wants to stop the killing and he wants to save lives.
As far
Reagan,
as the first part
go
of
ahead.
what you were saying, Caroline.
Reagan,
first
go
part,
ahead.
I have two questions for you. It's just about, if I may, just about the tariffs, the first part. I get the secondary tariffs, but there was only $3 billion worth of trade between the U.S. and Russia in 2024. It's expected to be far less this particular year. On April the 2nd, both you and the Treasury Secretary said it's not necessary to apply any tariffs on Russia. You said that because of the lack of trade, it precludes, that was the word you used, any need for tariffs. Why now, and why do you think that that would make them cave and come to some sort of peace agreement as it relates to Ukraine?
$3 billion is still a lot of money, John, and it's not just tariffs, it's the secondary sanctions as well that will be implemented in 50 days. Reagan.
Thanks, Caroline. I have two questions for you.
Sure.
First on Congress. Congresswoman Salazar introduced legislation that would give some illegal immigrants in the country a path to citizenship. 10 Republicans signed on to what she's calling the Dignity Act. I'm curious what the White House's position is on the legislation and if the president would veto this bill if it needed to discuss.
From my understanding, the White House nor the president has actually read through this legislation. We've been focused on, of course, the One Big Beautiful Bill, which passed, which is another historic accomplishment of this president in record time. The Genius Act this week, the rescissions package, that's been the focus of the White House. But the president has made it very clear he will not support amnesty for illegal aliens in any way.
I want to give you a chance to respond to the CEO of NPR. She's claiming that the cuts to their network will, quote, be a real risk to public safety of the country. Congressman Murkowski has argued that public broadcasting stations save lives. Could you respond to these concerns?
The NPR CEO said cutting NPR will be a risk to public safety. I am not sure how NPR helps the public safety of our country, but I do know that NPR, unfortunately, has become really just a propaganda voice for the left. Just a few examples for you. In 2020, NPR refused to cover the Hunter Biden laptop scandal in the run-up to the election. They said their assertions don't amount to much, writing they did not want to waste the listeners' and readers' time on stories that are just pure distractions. That does not sound like an unbiased opinion. That sounds like a partisan opinion to me. And this is a taxpayer-funded organization. In 2018, that same CEO that you're talking about called the president in the Oval Office, who nearly 80 million Americans elected, she called him racist, shared a photo of herself wearing a Biden for President campaign hat, serves on the board of a Soros-funded activist group. In 2020, PBS's White House correspondent at the time characterized President Trump's speech then at Mount Rushmore as a love letter to white resentment, promoting the myth of America. In 2017, PBS devoted an entire panel talking about what it means to be woke and white privilege. In 2023, PBS's Washington Week Roundtable covered up Joe Biden's clear mental divide. That's actually quite the clip. I would encourage all of you to look at it. These are not honest news organizations. These are partisan, left-wing outlets that are funded by the taxpayers. And this administration does not believe it's a good use of the taxpayers' time and money. Ed Lawrence.
Yeah, thanks, Carol. I want to ask you about the Federal Reserve. So does the president believe that the slightly restrictive monetary policy stance right now, could that cause an economic slowdown? And if he does believe that, when?
What pause are you referring to?
No, could the stance of the monetary policy is slightly restrictive? Does the president believe that stance, the slightly restrictive stance, could cause an economic slowdown?
Well,
itself.
I haven't heard the president discuss that specifically, but what I do know in regards to the Federal Reserve is the president's been very transparent about his displeasure with both the policies and the management of the Fed. And he spoke about that to all of you pretty extensively in the Oval Office yesterday.
Yeah, and last month, one more if I could. Last month, the Canadian Prime Minister said the president had agreed to a July 21st deadline to sort of work towards a trade agreement. That's 4 days from now. Could there be a trade agreement with Canada in 4 days?
Well, look, we'll see. The trade team continues to be very active in our conversations and discussions with Canada. The president himself has said, unfortunately, our neighbors to the north have been pretty difficult to deal with when it comes to matters on trade. But in trade, generally speaking, as you know, 25 countries have received letters thus far from the president directly with his big, beautiful signature on them, from Japan to Korea, South Africa, Kazakhstan, Malaysia, just a few countries, and Canada also received a letter for 35%. With that said, if countries want to have legitimate further discussions, the Trump administration and the president's trade team are willing to have further talks. But these letters these countries have been receiving are the deals. And as the president has said, those deals will be made. They are tailor-made to each and every country based on the United States' concerns and what's in the best interest of the American worker and the American people. Charlie, go ahead.
Thank you, Caroline.
No, I called on Charlie, but Deanna, you can go ahead too. Go ahead.
The president said that he floated the idea of a special prosecutor in the Epstein case. Can you confirm that? And has he asked the Attorney General to do this, to appoint a special prosecutor to look it over?
Well, the idea was floated from someone in the media to the president. The president would not recommend a special prosecutor in the Epstein case. That's how he feels. And as for his discussions with the Attorney General, I'm not sure. Deanna.
Caroline, thank you so much. Do you know what the president's reaction was to Mike Johnson saying that he wants additional files released, the Epstein files? Was there a conversation with Mike Johnson about that following his comments?
I won't discuss the president's private conversations with the Speaker of the House, but as I answered to Jackie's question earlier, the president has said if the Attorney General and the Department of Justice and the FBI have any more credible evidence in regards to Jeffrey Epstein's crimes, they should put that forward. He has called on them to do that.
Sure. Thank you, Caroline.
With a few days.
I'll go to all of you, starting with the lady in the blue. Go ahead.
With a few days to the August 9th deadline, how are the negotiations with Europe going? There's some sticking points. What are they? Can we expect a delay, or should we expect a deal soon?
Well, I believe the deadline is August 1st. As for the European Union, they continue to be very eager in negotiating with our country for obvious reasons on ways to lower their tariff and their non-tariff barriers that we have long said harm our workers and our companies. So the president's trade team continue to be in talks with the European Union.
Would he accept, or would he put forth a postponement of the August 1st?
He's already said he will not.
Caroline,
Owen, go ahead.
Good afternoon, Caroline. In Gaza today, Holy Family Catholic Church was struck by an Israeli shell.
Yes.
3 people were killed, 10 wounded. What is the president's reaction to that church coming under fire?
It was not a positive reaction. He called Prime Minister Netanyahu this morning to address the strikes on that church in Gaza. And I understand the Prime Minister agreed to put out a statement. It was a mistake by the Israelis to hit that Catholic church. That's what the Prime Minister relayed to the president. And you should look at the Prime Minister's statement that when we come Steve, go ahead.
Back to your letter that you read at the beginning.
Sure.
The president, you said mild swelling in his legs. Is
Yes, sir.
it causing him any discomfort? How are you treating it?
Nope. No discomfort from the president at all. And you probably all see that on a day-to-day basis. He's working around the clock. As for the treatments, I can defer to the president's physician, and we'll get you this letter. I think it will answer all your questions.
There are reports that a Chinese-born banker who works in Atlanta for Wells Fargo is being prevented from leaving China. Has the president, is he going to bring this up with President Xi? Are you aware of the case?
I'm not aware of the case, but I'm sure our National Security Council team is. Steve will get you some answers on that. Kristen.
Thank you, Caroline. 2 questions. So the first is that President Trump said that the Attorney General only gave him a brief overview of what was in these Epstein files. Does he have knowledge or an understanding of what is in the files related to Epstein that have not been released?
Not to my knowledge, and that's a question for the Attorney General, as I said, and the President has told the Attorney General if they have any more credible evidence, they should release it.
Is that evidence, would she have to run that by the president before she released it?
I don't think so. He said if she has any more credible evidence, she should release it.
Your Honor.
Go ahead.
Thank you.
Go ahead, yes.
Right. Thank you, Caroline. Two questions. One, today.
And you can go ahead, Andrew. Don't worry.
Today, tens of thousands of folks are rallying nationwide to honor the legacy of Congressman John Lewis. Meanwhile, Republicans in Texas reportedly are working to redraw congressional maps at President Trump's urging. How is President Trump reconciling his call to action for Texas Republicans with the legacy of Representative John Lewis?
I'm not quite sure how the two things are related. I think the president would agree that John Lewis served our country for many, many years. It has nothing to do with the redistricting efforts that are currently underway by Texas Republicans to add seats to their legislature. They have the right to do that. The president spoke to the congressmen and women who serve the great state of Texas about it, but it's up to them and it's up to their legislature to get that approved.
And Caroline, this is the second question. And
Go
does
ahead.
the president support the Justice Department's request for just 1 day in jail for the officer convicted in Breonna Taylor's killing? And what message does he believe that sends to her family and to other families seeking justice in cases of police violence?
I haven't talked to the president about that case. Go ahead.
Just the president,
Go
when the president met the interim president of Syria a couple of months ago, he described him as a young, tough, attractive guy. After the latest clashes in Syria over the last few days, does President Trump still support Syria's interim president?
The president still supports Syria's pathway to a peaceful and prosperous country. And you received an update directly from the Secretary of State on the ongoing situation between Syria and Israel. I spoke to him myself this morning to get an update. And as soon as the United States became involved in this conflict, we were able to de-escalate, deconflict. That seems to be continuing. Syria agreed to draw back their troops that were in the area where that clash was ongoing, and we continue to be very actively monitoring the situation. The president wants to see Syria become a prosperous and stable country, and by the lifting of the sanctions on Syria, he's giving them a real chance to do that, and he wants to see that through. Andrew, go ahead.
So on Tuesday, the president told a very detailed story about his uncle, noted scientist John Trump, and Theodore Kaczynski, the late Unabomber. He said that Dr. Trump taught Ted Kaczynski. Ted Kaczynski was not identified as the Unabomber until 1996, 11 years after John Trump passed away. It would have been impossible for John Trump to have ever discussed the Unabomber with the president. So what was he talking about? And I have one follow-up.
Andrew, with so many issues going on in the world, I'm a little bit surprised you would ask such a question, although I'm not sometimes coming from you, I will say, but I'm willing to give you an answer. Nevertheless, the president's uncle did, in fact, teach at MIT. He was a very intelligent professor. The president's very proud of his family. In fact, the president has a letter from his uncle on the MIT letterhead that sits in the Oval Office dining room. Maybe we'll let you see it sometime.
And then one,
Elizabeth.
Caroline, one more.
Elizabeth,
will the
go
president consider pardoning Ghislaine Maxwell
Elizabeth,
if the Epstein case is a hoax?
Okay, I'll start off with the president said last week he would not be getting involved in the New York City mayoral case. If that mayoral race, if that's still the case, given his history drawing a large crowd in New York City, what's his reason for staying out of it in that way?
Well, look, I think the president reserves the right to get involved in races or not get involved in races, and he's made the decision not to weigh in on the New York mayoral race, as you rightly pointed out, although he has gone as far to say he absolutely does not want to see Zemdami elected, who is a known communist who supports the abolishment of private property, the defunding of police. He has made very well-known anti-Semitic statements. It would be a disaster for New York and for this country. And I think it's quite telling that this individual, a known communist, has been spending time in Washington this week meeting with leaders on Capitol Hill. This is truly where the Democrat Party is headed. Clearly, they learned nothing from November 5th in the president's overwhelming victory. Mary, go ahead.
Thank you, Caroline. I want to backtrack to the hospitals that have stopped providing transgender surgeries and hormones for kids. On this front, does that have anything to do with the DOJ subpoenas last week? Should we expect any more hospitals be shutting down their programs? And I wanted to also ask what you make of all these media reports, especially the AP, which I noticed, which portrays these children as losing something that's saving their lives.
Yes, I think the president spoke a lot about this issue, which is a political issue, but also really a cultural issue that impacts children and families. He talked about it a lot on the campaign, and I think he was quite surprised by the uptick we were seeing in the embracement by the Democrat Party when it comes to the chemical castration and mutilation of young innocent bodies. And so the president made it a very early priority to sign very strong executive orders to cut off the funding for any hospital or any medical facility in this country that provides such barbaric procedures. And as a result of that strong policy and the president's strong common sense position on this issue, we've had such an overwhelming response, which is great for children in Arizona. Phoenix Children's Hospital has stopped providing puberty blockers and hormone therapy to minors. In California, Stanford Medicine ended sex change surgeries for minors. Children's Hospital Los Angeles is closing its Center for Trans Youth Health and Development surgical program. In Illinois, Lurie Children's Hospital Chicago stopped sex change surgeries. Again, let's think about what we're talking about here. Sex change surgeries for minors. These are barbaric practices that no child, innocent child, should have to endure. And the president wants to protect the innocence of children. And I know the vast majority of Americans support him in that effort. This is a wildly popular and common sense endeavor this administration has taken. And we've seen many of these medical institutions have followed through with the president's executive orders, but we'll continue to take further action on this important issue. Garrett.
I too feel indulged.
Sure.
On the rescissions package, I wonder what the White House makes of this theory that it increases the odds of a shutdown. The theory is basically, why would any Democrat vote for a bipartisan spending deal with Republicans if Republicans can turn around and claw the money back the next day?
Look, $9 billion worth of crap that it was in our federal funding that is now being rescinded. This is a good thing for the American people and the American taxpayer. And I think our Office of Management and Budget Director was saying this process should be more bipartisan. Democrats, there was a time in this country where Democrats too cared about getting rid of waste, fraud, and abuse in our federal spending. I think every American agrees the government spends way too much money on things that don't matter. Some of those things includes PBS and NPR, or for instance, the Democracy Fund, which was funded to the tune of $83 million through the Department of State, but they were giving hundreds of thousands of dollars for gender equality and empowerment hubs in Yemen, $3.9 million for strengthening information integrity, equality, and democracy for LGBTQI population of the Western Balkans. These are not good uses of the taxpayer funds, and Republicans are proud to lead that effort, and we wish more Democrats would join us in that.
I wanted to follow up on the Maureen Comey question just to clarify. Did the White House have any knowledge, or did the president sign off on her firing?
This was a decision that was made by the Department of Justice.
There was an agreement that was made between Immigration and Customs Enforcement and the Centers for Medicaid and Medicare Services regarding access to Medicaid information for 92 million Medicaid recipients around the country. That includes health information. So how does that not violate HIPAA violations and privacy concerns, for example, of American citizens?
I'm going to have to defer you to Immigration and Customs Enforcement on that. I'm unfamiliar with that agreement that they made.
Thanks, Caroline. 2 questions. Russ Vought said today he's going to be looking into cost overruns in the Fed's renovation projects. Is there a deadline for him to come back with findings to the president?
I don't believe there's a deadline the president has set for Russ Vought, but I think, again, this is a good use of taxpayers' time to look into this project that is millions and millions of dollars over budget. It's for a big, beautiful mansion for the federal chairman, reserve chairman, and I understand that it costs much more than it did the beautiful palace that many of you joined us at when we went overseas. So it's completely unnecessary. It's overpriced. And I think it's a good thing the administration led by the president is looking into it.
If there ever were to find wrongdoing or fraud, would the president reconsidering firing Jerome Powell?
Look, it's a hypothetical question. We'll see where it goes. The president spoke about how he feels on this matter yesterday.
Sure. Thank
Go
you
ahead.
so much, Caroline. So we saw Ambassador Huckabee arrive to Prime Minister Netanyahu's trial to show his support. Does the president plan to impose any kind of sanctions against the Israel judicial system?
I don't have any update for you on that or any announcement on that front. I don't believe so.
Does the president believe that justice has been served in the Epstein case?
Look, the president believes that he directed the Department of Justice to do an exhaustive and thorough review, and they did that. And they all agreed, the FBI director, the deputy FBI director, the attorney general, on the memo that they drafted and they released.
Thank you, Caroline. Just a follow-up on Reagan's question. Representative Salazar's bill, it grants illegal aliens with legal status for 7-year increments. It also gives permanent path to residency for so-called dreamers. And, President Trump and Labor Secretary Chavez, who previously co-sponsored a version of this bill when she was in the House, they've spoken about a work deal similar to the bill, I believe. What's the difference between a work deal and amnesty?
Look, as I told Reagan, the president, the White House have not reviewed this specific piece of legislation. It's just not where our focus has been. But the president, for one, has been very clear. He does not support amnesty. We'll go to, look at some friends in the back. Brian, go ahead.
Thank you very much.
You didn't show up early enough to get some good real estate up here.
I love it. Any update on the auto pen? I know that there was the DOJ and some others were looking into the thousands of documents that were signed off just before Joe Biden left office. Any update on the auto pen?
Yes. I'm not laughing at you. I'm just laughing at how far away you are. And you're going to need to get some microphones back there. And the auto pen investigation, yes. The White House counsel's office has launched their own investigation into former President Biden's usage of the auto pen. We have requested some documents from the National Archives. And again, as I've said many times from this podium, and the president has said as well, it's incredibly important that we get to the bottom of who really was at the tip of the spear in the decision-making process here in the White House, because former President Biden himself admitted to the New York Times, I understand he never gave interviews when he was here, but now all of a sudden he wants to give one. And he said that he did not actually review every single pardon that he signed on his way out the door. That's incredibly concerning. And I can tell you it's something this president would never tolerate. This is a president who is signing things all the time. Any document that has legal implications, this president's signature is on it because he's the one making the decisions. It does not appear that was the truth in the previous White House. And I know the American people want to receive answers on who was running the show, because the decisions that were made in this place really destroyed our country, and we deserve to get to the bottom of it. Mark, in the back.
Thanks. Some Christian groups are complaining that they are not able to get visas as quickly to travel to Israel, and it's been elevated to Ambassador Huckabee's station. Is the White House aware of that? Does it have any reaction to that? And is that part of the president's disappointment with Netanyahu's government?
Look, I'm not aware of that, Mark, but I'm sure, again, our National Security Council is, and also the State Department, as you know, travel visas roll through Secretary Rubio's shop over there, whom we work very closely with. So we will check in on the matter. But I know overall, this president and the administration do want to streamline the visa process to make it easier for both Americans who want to travel abroad and people abroad who want to come to our country the legal way. Sure. Go ahead. I was going to the gentleman above you, but go ahead, Libby, and then you can go.
Okay, two questions for you. The first is, during the Hill Nation Summit, Secretary Noem suggested there could be some changes to TSA's liquid limits. Is the president aware of that? Is that an idea that he's backing? And what would that timeline and the changes look like?
Sure. I would defer you to the Department of Homeland Security, but I did see Secretary Noem's comments, and I think it's great that on day one, she asked TSA, what are we doing right? What are we doing wrong? How can we make air travel more efficient while maintaining utmost security for American passengers and travelers? And I know they announced no more shoes, or you don't need to take off your shoes anymore at the airport, which I think is welcome news to all of us who travel a lot. But further guidance or decisions, of course, that's in the Secretary of Homeland Security's overview, and I would defer to her.
And the other question for you is on Bondi and Burgum's trip today to Alcatraz. I'm curious what the funding is going to look like for that, and who the president does want to see incarcerated there, if it were to become.
Sure. Well, this was an idea of the president. He spoke about it in May, and he directed his administration to review a reopening plan for Alcatraz if it is possible, which is why the Attorney General and the Secretary of Interior have traveled there today. They are touring the site, and if the Alcatraz prison is reopened, it would be under the purview of the Bureau of Prisons. And the Secretary of Interior also would play a big role in this as well. So they're there to review the site today, and I'm sure you'll hear more from them on it later. And just to follow up, Libby, on who the president wants to see housed in Alcatraz, the worst of the worst criminals in this country, both American criminals who convict heinous crimes, but also illegal alien criminals before deportation as well. Go ahead.
The State Department yesterday urged the Chinese Communist Party to cease its campaign to eradicate Falun Gong, a peaceful spiritual practice. With the anniversary of this brutal persecution approaching, does the White House have a message for the CCP on this?
Well, I will get you one, and we will get back to you. Go ahead. We'll take. Go ahead, and then go ahead. Sure. I've never called on you. Why don't you go ahead? In the red tie. Dr. Harper behind.
Thank you.
Yes, go ahead. Go ahead.
Me, thanks.
Yes.
Thank you, Caroline.
Yes, you. What's your name?
My name is Matias. Thank you.
What's your outlet?
I'm for Record TV, Brazil.
Great.
Brazil's President Lula recently said that President Trump was elected to govern the United States and not to act as the emperor of the world. And he also emphasized that Brazil is open to negotiation. I'd like to hear what you have to say about it, what the administration has to say about it, and specifically what areas are currently open to negotiation in the light of the 50% tariffs that were announced.
Sure. The president is certainly not trying to be the emperor of the world. He is a strong president for the United States of America, and he's also the leader of the free world. And we've seen a great shift across the entire globe because of the strong leadership of this president. In regards to Brazil, the president sent a letter to Brazil announcing their new tariff percentage. He also directed our USTR ambassador, Jameson Greer, to launch an investigation of Brazil under Section 301 of the Trade Act of 1974, designed to address unfair foreign practices that are affecting U.S. commerce. For years, we know Brazil's digital regulations and weak IP protections have undermined U.S. tech and innovative companies, and their tolerance of illegal deforestation and other environmental practices puts American producers, manufacturers, farmers, and ranchers who follow better environmental standards at a competitive disadvantage. So this president always acts in the best interest of the American people and the United States of America, and he will continue to do so. Thank you very much, everyone. We'll see you later. I appreciate the enthusiasm today.
Thank you, Caroline.
Ladies and gentlemen, the President of the United States.
Well, thank you very much. Please. It's an honor to be with you. We're making a lot of progress in our country, generally too. But this is a very special time because we've worked very hard to put ourselves in this position. Today we strike a righteous blow to the drug dealers, narcotic traffickers, and criminal cartels that we've all been hearing so much about for so many years. And very little has been done. And we take a historic step toward justice for every family touched by the fentanyl scourge as we sign the Halt Fentanyl Act into law. Good job. Good job. Good job. Good job. Thank you very much. With this bill, we are officially and permanently classifying all fentanyl-related substances as Schedule one narcotics, which is actually a very big deal. It doesn't sound like much. It's a big deal, as they will tell you, meaning anyone caught trafficking these illicit poisons will be punished with a mandatory 10-year minimum sentence in prison. We'll be getting the drug dealers, pushers, and peddlers off our street, and we will not rest until we have ended the drug overdose epidemic. And it's been getting a little bit better, but it's horrible. It's horrible. We're going to end it once and for all. And we're pleased to be joined on this occasion by my future DEA administrator. He's going to be a very important position, Terry Cole. Where's Terry Cole? Hello, Terry Cole. I hope you're as good as they say, Terry. I hope you're as good as Glenn Youngkin says, because it was his recommendation that got you this job. You better do a good job, or I'm blaming Glenn. Glenn, I'm going to blame you if he's no good. And who the hell knows, but I have a feeling he's going to be great. Is he that good? All right, good. You better be good. But it was really, Glenn has had tremendous experience with Terry, and he said he's fantastic. He did the job like nobody that you've seen, and we take your word for it. Thank you very much, Glenn. Also with us is Secretary Kristi Noem, who's doing a fantastic job. Where's Kristi? Where are you? Kristi. Hi, Kristi. She is doing a great job with Tom Homan, who's fantastic. He's also central casting. He does serve the central casting role too, doesn't he? And he's a great guy. Special Envoy Steve Witkoff. Steve, thank you very much. Thank you. Good job. And we have some good news on Gaza and good news on a couple of things that we're working on at a very high level. But you've done a fantastic job. Thank you very much. My nominee to lead the Office of National Drug Control Policy, Sarah Carter. Sarah, great reporter too. She was a very tough and good reporter, and you've done a fantastic job. So now you'll be able to put all that experience to work. No more criticizing or anything else. You got to do it yourself, and you're going to do a great job, you know, as reporters do on occasion. Thank you very much. Thanks, Sarah. Good luck. Governors Glenn Youngkin, Jeff Landry, and Kelly Armstrong, where are you? Stand up. Great. Hi, fellas. Hi. How are you? And great friends of ours, Senators Chuck Grassley. Chuck, fantastic. You look fantastic. Looks like he's 44 years old. You look great, Chuck. We're proud of you. Jim Banks. Jim. Thank you, Jim. Good job. Good job. Ron Johnson. Ron, good. We've got that bill passed, Ron. We got it passed. Thank you for all your help, too. Ashley Moody. Ashley, thank you very much. Jim Risch. Thank you, Jim. And you're doing a great job on the committees, and you're getting them through, the people that we need, right? I appreciate it, Jim, very much. I urge him, like, Jim, you got to get going. No, Jim's been fantastic. Bill Cassidy. Thank you, Bill, very much. Thank you very much. And Roger Marshall. Roger, thank you. And by the way, I have to say, John Thune called. He said, can you get my senators back? We're taking a vote. So we're going to go as quickly as you can. And if you feel like the urge, just get out. And we got to get all these bills signed, a lot of them related to what we're doing. So don't have the urge to stay. I won't be insulted if you walk out. But he just called. He said, could you get him back as soon as possible? Representatives Morgan Griffin, Brett Guthrie, Andy Biggs, Andy Barr, Buddy Carter, Addison McDowell, Troy Balderson. Hi, Troy. Randy Feenstra. Thank you, Randy. Scott Franklin, Tony Gonzalez, John Joyce, Dan Muser, Mike Carey, Scott Fitzgerald, Diana Harshbarger, Bob Latta. That's a good group of people. Hal Rogers, Mike Rowley, and Nick Langworthy. Thank you. We've got a lot of great people. That's a lot of political talent we have. A lot of political talent. Thank you very much. Thanks as well to State Attorneys General Brenna Bird. Thank you, Brenna, wherever you may be, because you know, Brenna, she was the first one in that state to endorse Trump. Thank you very much. I don't forget those things, even though this is non-political today, okay? Alan Wilson, Chris Carr, and Marty Jackley. Thank you all very much. Thank you. So 6 months ago, we came into office and inherited the worst drug crisis in American history by far. They did nothing. For 4 long years, Joe Biden surrendered our borders to the most evil and vicious traffickers, networks, and everything else on the planet Earth, allowing foreign drug cartels to carve out a massive footprint on American soil. We were doing nothing. This open borders nightmare flooded our country with fentanyl and with people that shouldn't be here, some of the worst people on earth. And illicit drugs decimated American communities and left us with the largest law enforcement challenge in our country's history, and hopefully will always be the largest. I can't imagine anything being worse. They allowed millions and millions of criminals into our country, 11,888 murders, 50% of whom murdered more than one person. On day one of the Trump administration, we declared an all-out war on the dealers, smugglers, traffickers, and cartels. Within moments of taking office, I deployed the U.S. military to our border and unleashed the patriots of ICE and Border Patrol to defend our country from an invasion. This was an invasion. This wasn't people coming in. This was an invasion of our country, allowed to happen by people either that didn't care or were just stupid people. I also designated the Mexican drug cartels as foreign terrorist organizations. And within a few short weeks, believe it or not, if you remember, now we've even surpassed that, but we achieved the most secure border in U.S. history. And last month, we had the lowest number of illegal border crossings ever recorded. We had in June, the number was actually 0. Now, even I don't believe that, but we're going to take it. How can you go from hundreds of thousands to 0? But that's what they say. And these are very liberal people that do the recording. So I think we're going to have to take it. But the number was 0 in June. Can't get much better than that, right? On day one, I signed executive orders to create new Homeland Security task forces, marshaling the full power of federal law enforcement to eradicate transnational criminal networks and traffickers from our soil. We wanted them out. 2 weeks ago, we secured the resources necessary to achieve that mission when I signed the One Big Beautiful Bill into law. And I want to thank you all. I want to thank you. I want to thank you all. You did a great job. And you could go point after point how good it is. You know, they have just a hit against that. It's one of the biggest tax cuts in history, really the biggest everything in history. We have things in terms of security, in terms of securing our country, taking care of our police officers, law enforcement, our ICE and Border Patrol patriots. I call them patriots because that's what they are. These are strong people, tough people that love our country. If they weren't tough, they wouldn't survive. But we do more for the country in that bill, I think, than just about any bill that's been passed. And we're going to have to start speaking about it because the Democrats use it. They say it represents death. How effective is that, right? That's pretty good. It represents that. That's all they have. They only have lies. It's the only thing they have. They don't have policy. They can't get people elected. They don't have good candidates. They don't have anything, but they do have 2 things. They stick together. They stick together like glue. And they always come up with a good little tagline. This tagline is death. And the death is them. We're the ones that are giving life. We're giving life with that bill. And there's so many good things, whether it's No tax on tips. Think of that. No tax on Social Security. No tax on overtime. If you buy a car, you want to buy a car, you get a deduction of interest on your mortgage. So think of that. Things that were never even a possibility. And then so much else in terms of health, in terms of providing care. It's really just a fantastic bill. And it's about time that we're going to start, and we'll start talking about it. But once we do, I think we're going to have the greatest midterm that you've ever seen, because this thing really is amazing. And I want to thank all of the senators in particular for getting it done, It also makes the largest investment in the U.S. Coast Guard since World War II, ensuring that we have assets and all of the assets needed to vanquish the cartels from the waterways of North America. We're building a lot of Coast Guard ships that go very speedily along the water, and they're very lethal. They're very powerful, and that's what we need, because a lot of it comes in as we block up the border. They start using the water. That's a good run. I could use that. They block up the border. We start using the water, and that's what happens. They start using the water. Who would think? They even actually developed small submarines. You saw that, right? Small submarines to get the drugs in. And it's incredible. But we've stopped them. I've also directed the Department of Justice to seek maximum sentences for fentanyl traffickers. We're going to absolutely do the maximum. Since my inauguration, the DOJ has seized over 4,500 pounds of fentanyl, which is a record, including with the enormous Sinaloa cartel bust in May, one of the toughest cartels out there, the largest fentanyl bust ever in United States history. And now with the signing of the HALT Fentanyl Act, in just a few moments, we are delivering another defeat for the savage drug smugglers and criminals and the cartels who have a tremendous amount to say about Mexico. If you want to be nice about it, I'm trying to be nice about it. They have very strong controls over Mexico, and we have to do something about that. Can't let that